So with all that Arctic weather behind us that came through over the last few weeks, we've actually been having some decent spring type weather. So brought a great video idea, and I thought today we could discuss some of the best fragrances that transition well from winter weather to spring. So it still works in cold days and slightly warmer days. Let's discuss them. Stay tuned. Starting off with my scent of the day, actually, because it was the last 2 days it's been in the high 50s, and like I said, that's a beautiful mild spring day around here. Sun's been nice and bright, the snow is melted for the most part, and I went with Diesel Only the Brave Tattoo. This was my first wearing of it, and I gotta tell you, I love this fragrance. I did do a first impressions a while back on it, but I'm really digging it. In the same vein as your 1 Millions and your Invictuses, where it's playfully sweet, a little bit of warm spice to it, kind of has a slight bubblegumminess to it, but I'm really digging this one. A little on the synthetic side, of course, but powerful. That's the beauty of it. It's definitely strong enough to cut through those still very cold days that come up that get down in the 30s, but it's not such a heavy wear and overly sweet to where it really will work in the high 50s, low 60s, those milder spring days. So I just feel like this was such a perfect fragrance to finally pull out on a day like today, and it actually fits the video topic very well. So fragrances like Only the Brave Tattoo are gonna be what I'm reaching for here over the next few weeks as we start to transition to spring, because spring is right around the corner. We are just a very few short weeks away. So the weather is going to be kind of back and forth between now and then. And one I suggest, if you happen to have it in your wardrobe, maybe it's time to pull out Only the Brave Tattoo. Sweet, but not too sweet. Strong, but not too strong. And always a great way to enjoy some beautiful creamy almond. The original Eau de Toilette, Guerlain L'Homme Ideal. One that does not get talked about. Everybody talks about the cologne in the summertime, the Extreme, and the L'Intense have been getting a lot of praise over the last year. And then of course the EDP always gets love, but nobody really talks about the original, the base DNA, the Eau de Toilette. Look, I'm bad about not wearing it that much either, and it's very situational for me because it does have a strong sweetness to it, but not overly sweet. The almond, slightly bitter, very, very creamy. It's a very robust fragrance that doesn't wear too heavy, yet not too light at the same time. One that I would think would be too cloying for very high heat, but milder weather to colder weather, which is exactly what this video is about. Guerlain L'Homme Ideal, the Eau de Toilette, the original. Perfect for this. You know, that transition from summer into fall, this one really works once it starts to cool off into the fall weather, and it really works in a winter to spring type of transition as well. And of course it does work in the spring, minus the hotter days, but while we still have some cooler spring type weather, warmer winter weather, if you will, this is one that I'm going to be reaching for, and that I advise you, if you've never smelled this one, maybe it's time to get a carded sample and try it out. You can find them from discounters very cheap. This one, I think 100 milliliters is going to run you in the high 30s, low 40s in most places, which is a bargain for the quality and the performance. At the end of the day, it is a Guerlain fragrance. Guerlain makes wonderful, wonderful perfumes, and this is definitely perfect for those milder spring days, warmer winter days. Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette. One that I've been spending quite a bit of time with over the last few weeks that I just did a full review on. It's the newest flanker in the Boss Bottled line. It's Boss Bottled Eau de Parfum. So it has enough density and warmth with that cardamom. There's enough spice here and enough power from the concentration to really cut through the cold on those colder days. Yet there's a beautiful apple note and kind of bubblegummy sage that works in the top that really adds a sort of freshness and a slight playfulness to the fragrance to really work on those milder spring days. This is a perfect time of year. This was perfect for me to get it around this time, and I've been wearing it a lot over the last week and a half or so. That's hence the full review I did, and I gotta say it fits this climate perfectly. because it drops into the 30s every night still, but lately it's been going into the high 50s, low 60s. Beautiful springtime, mild winter type of weather. And this kind of checks all the boxes on what really works well in this transitional phase that we're starting to go into with the climate. And like I said, it's fresh, a little bubblegummy up top, but very warm and spicy and woody as it starts to dry down. So it really works in both settings. And that's why it's in this video. And if you haven't tried it yet, maybe you should. Don't get me wrong, it did underwhelm me and disappoint me for my first impression because it wasn't what I thought it was supposed to be. But after I spent some time with it, it just got better and better by this spray. And that might be the same case when you try it. Make sure you sample Boss Bottled EDP. One that I've just recently started spending time with, and it's perfect for this time of year, is from Montblanc, Pure Love. So this is slightly warm, not overly warm, slightly sweet, not overly sweet. It's got a little salty ambergris, some creamy sandalwood, creamy vanilla. There's a light rose, but not much. You just get a little bit of it up top to add a little floral freshness, and then it fades. It's predominantly some salty ambergris, some smooth creamy sandalwood, and some smooth creamy vanilla with a nice kind of dry vetiver that's in the dry down. Really beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Pure Love, the name and the bottle is interesting to say the least. Cool looking bottle, don't get me wrong, with the way they designed it with this matte black finish and this gold, all this, I don't even know what to call this design, but it looks cool. And this is one that kind of surprised me. You know, I had saw the note breakdown before I smelled it, and it was, that kind of doesn't look that complex, kind of basic. And don't get me wrong, it's not heavily nuanced, but it is beautiful. It comes off great on the skin, not overly masculine, not overly feminine, rides that line of unisex. But I tell you what, if you like a beautiful vanilla, and it's one of those fragrances where the vanilla really mixes well with this salty ambergris, which you wouldn't think that would go so well together. It's just well blended. It works. I want to spray it again and smell it, sitting here talking about it. It's such a beautiful fragrance. One that gets overlooked. I don't really see anybody talk about it, and it's perfect. It's definitely strong enough. It's a Montblanc fragrance, more than strong enough to cut through those colder days, yet a light and easy wear, light enough and easy wear to work on those slightly warmer, going into spring style mild climate days. Definitely sample this one if you haven't. It's a beautiful fragrance. It doesn't do anything to complicate things. It just smells great. And that's Pure Love from Montblanc. Next is a bona fide love-hate fragrance. I love the way it smells. Some people hate it because it got the generic Another Invictus tag. And I think those that just went off of what they heard and haven't tried it themselves might be missing out with Spicebomb Night Vision, the original Eau de Toilette, not the EDP. The EDP can work here, don't get me wrong, but I feel like that's just so strong. It really works a lot better for the colder climate. Whereas this, on those days that tend to warm up a little bit, it's got that bubblegummy, aquatic Invictus nature up top with a slightly mild dry down, slightly spicy and mild dry down that doesn't wear too heavy, yet it has some serious power to it. Really good staying power. 8 to 10 hour fragrance, really loud off of my skin in that first 3 hours, at least my experience with my skin. Like I said, it's got some really good Invictus bubblegummy, sweet aquatic freshness going for it up top to really give that aquatic nature that'll work in those slightly warmer days, you know, 60-ish degrees, where it's not hot by any means, but it's definitely not cold. It's beautiful. You can pull out the short sleeve shirts, you can go on hikes, jump on your mountain bike, go out for a jog. This one will work in that weather. Now let's say the temperature drops, it gets down in the 20s and 30s at night, it gets nice and cold. There's a slight warmth. It doesn't wear too heavy, but it's very, very powerful, and it will still cut through this cold. And it's actually pretty strong compliment getter, very mass appealing, will work well in a date situation as well. Don't overlook this one. I know it got that generic tag. Try it for yourself. This is one of those flankers that just gets no love. I absolutely enjoy it. I think it's very underrated. Check it out. Spicebomb Night Vision EDT. This next one, this fragrance was built for this video. The transition from winter to spring. Because this fragrance is so well balanced. It's classy, it's elegant, it's a little sweet, it's slightly leathery. It's very, very iris dominant. You may know where I'm going with this. The ever so well balanced Dior Homme, the original. So it doesn't wear real heavy, yet it's not the lightest fragrance, because that iris has a strong waxy quality and there is a very prominent leather and slight sweetness in this dry down that lend itself to having the right amount of projection where it's not offensive, it's not filling a room, but you have a beautiful sillage and trail following you. So when you walk by somebody, they'll definitely get a whiff and you're going to smell very unique, because not that many people, I say that, take that with a grain of salt, not that many people wear iris. Now in our community, this fragrance community, yes, iris is very popular. But to the average person, not that many people probably wear iris. You know, to be completely honest with you, they're wearing your more mass appealing style fragrances, whereas this fits more into our little niche community that we have, where this is a superstar in our little community. And I absolutely love this fragrance. I featured it recently. I'm actually going to wear it over the next day or two. Having talked about it and smelled it recently, it's really making me want to wear it. And if you have a bottle, I suggest pull it out. Yes, it's a bit classier and dressier type of fragrance, but I still think anybody can pull this one off with a t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt like I'm wearing right now, for example. You just got to own it when you wear it. You know, just because this is a dressier fragrance doesn't necessarily mean you have to dress it up. Now, if you have a special event going on or maybe an evening out coming, this would be a good fragrance for that during this nice little transitional period that we have. Dior Homme doesn't get talked about much anymore, but it still deserves the praise because it's earned it over the years. One of the most well-balanced iris fragrances you can get your hands on. Dior Homme Original. Lean, mean, fresh and clean. Dolce Gabbana K, Eau de Parfum. So this has got a lot more density than the EDT. The EDT, I would gear that more towards the spring, summer, early fall. Definitely the warmer weather. Even though it has a slight powdery nature to it, it's still a very light wear. This one does wear a little bit heavier, while still maintaining a lot of that freshness up top. The freshness is toned down a little bit from the EDT, and the juniper and the geranium are just so rich in this one that it's got a full-bodied nature that's missing from the EDT. This was revamped and reworked from the EDT. That's why we got the Eau de Parfum. And it's strong enough, yet a light wear. It's another one of those fragrances that's going to go in that 7 to 8 hour range for you. At least for me, it does. And it projects enough. You get a nice little sillage. It doesn't push real hard after that first hour and a half, 2 hours. It starts to come in a bit closer to the skin, but you will have a nice little trail going, and it's a versatile wear. This fragrance is going to be able to do anything and everything. This fragrance will be able to go to the gym during this time period. This fragrance will be able to go to work during this time period. It'll work well with a t-shirt, and it'll even work well in a dinner setting when you go out to eat in the evenings. This is kind of a do-it-all for this fine line we're walking between the winter transition into spring, where we still have some cold days, but we have some slightly warmer days that are a bit milder. This is another fragrance that I believe was just built for this transitional period. If you haven't tried it yet, I really think you should, especially if you didn't like the EDT. You might really like the EDP because it's definitely the better version and the one to own. Dolce & Gabbana K, Eau de Parfum. This fragrance can definitely do a little bit of everything. And let's say during the warmer months, you're a big fan of the Acqua di Gio line. You like wearing Absolute, or you just recently got Profondo this past summer, and you want something that's a little bit denser, a little bit darker, a little bit better for the colder days. That's where Profumo shines. This is what I would consider the one in the line to wear in the cooler weather, where it's fresh enough, it's aquatic enough, it's that Acqua di Gio DNA that everybody knows and loves, to where it'll work in hot weather. But the patchouli's dialed up, the incense added darkens this one up just a bit. It performs very well. It's not a beast mode fragrance, but it's a click or two below that, where you're going to get plenty of longevity. It's going to stay on the skin for a long time, at least with my experience and my bottle. And it projects well enough. You don't have to go crazy with the sprays. 5 to 7 sprays, you will have a beautiful sillage following you. It's going to project pretty heavy in the first 2 hours, and then same thing as before with Dolce & Gabbana K. It's going to leave a nice trail. When you walk by somebody, they will be able to smell you. And this is another one that's versatile. It's Swiss Army knife style fragrance, where all the way from, I probably wouldn't go to the gym with this one on, because this one, you know, it's a little too strong for the gym in my opinion. But as far as a t-shirt, day off, casual setting, all the way to dates and evenings out, this is another one that I feel was built for this time of year, where we have some colder days, we have some slightly warmer days. Another one that doesn't get talked about much anymore, Acqua di Gio Profumo. You'll notice the common denominator with these last three fragrances, Acqua di Gio Profumo prior, this one, and the next one, is going to be patchouli dominated fragrances, because patchouli really works well in this milder climate. And Gravitas Pour Homme has a beautiful creamy patchouli note in it. Nice little orange up top, very creamy fougere style fragrance. Has a little bit of moss. But man, patchouli lovers, I'm telling you, this is a must try if you like patchouli dominated fragrances. Very gentlemanly, very classy fragrance, don't get me wrong. I don't really see this one much as a t-shirt fragrance. Absolutely, you can wear it with a t-shirt, but when I smell this one, it begs me to put a sports jacket or a blazer on. Not necessarily a suit and tie, but definitely a sports jacket or a blazer with a nice collared shirt with a couple buttons undone, no tie. This is that type of fragrance. Going out having a nice drink, you know, a craft beer or a mixed drink, depending on what you like to drink. This is that type of setting is where I see this one. I gear this one more towards that situation, but with sticking with the climate that we're going through, it's strong enough to cut through the cold, yet it's not overbearing. This isn't a loud fragrance. This is a gentlemanly type of projection where you have a nice little bubble going around you for several hours with a nice mild trail. Nothing overbearing and overpowering with this fragrance. It's not built to be loud. This was not made to pronounce I'm here when you walk into a room. This is got a lot more subtlety working for it, but not on the weaker side. It's subtle, but I don't find it to be weak. Extrait de Parfum concentration. Projection's not real heavy, so it does wear a bit closer to the skin, but it leaves a nice little trail like I was saying before. If you're a patchouli lover, it's a must try at the very least. Gravitas, Pour Homme, Naughton & Wilson. And then probably my favorite patchouli fragrance currently, I do plan on pulling this one out over the next few days as well. It's one of the better releases. I mean, it doesn't really make bad releases, to be honest with you, from Happy Land Studios. Feu de Fafa. Spicy, warm amber, patchouli. This one, another one built for this weather. This one's gonna wear a little bit heavier. Gonna be a stud in the colder days, yet not so heavy and not overbearing to where the milder temperature, the cooler spring days, the warmer winter days, depending on how you want to look at it, it's still going to shine. Beast of a performer, loud, you don't need many sprays. You saw this big old giant spray. You can go like 2 or 3 of those and it's the equivalent of 4 to 6 sprays. And it's a beast to begin with. So 4 to 6 sprays of this fragrance is very loud and pronounced. So 2 to 3 of the atomizer that's on this bottle is the equivalent to 4 to 6 sprays. So I don't want, the TLTG told me to spray this 6 times. No. That's very loud. If you want to spray 6, go ahead and spray 6. But this is a beast. It wears a little heavier and it really projects a bit heavier. So nothing subtle about this one, but like I said, beautiful, warm, smooth amber with some slight spices, a little aromatic nature, and this beautiful patchouli note that's in here. Original, one of a kind. You're going to stand out from the crowd when you wear this, but you have to be a patchouli lover. Definitely check out Happy Land if you haven't yet. One I'll be wearing over the next few days, Feu de Fafa. So that's the 10 that I'm going to be reaching for over these next few weeks. This is going to be the main ones. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will be seeing these Scent of the Day posts because they fit this transitional period from winter to spring that we're currently in. And I felt like this was a good topic and some good fragrances to discuss with you guys. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, because I do appreciate all the feedback and I love hearing from you guys. How many of these do you have? How many of these intrigue you and you've yet to try them? There's never a better time than right now. Go out and sample them, try them for yourself, get your hands on a sample pack, depending on what, like with Happy Land, you can get your hands on a sample pack, try the entire house, or just that individual fragrance. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of the 10 fragrances discussed in this video and you give them a spray now, pretty confident you'll thank me later. Have a good one, guys.